the Senate will debate the extension of the debt ceiling after weeks of fighting between Republicans and Democrats. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the U.S. will run out of money on October 18th. If Congress doesn't act, it could be the first time in American history the country would default on its loans. President Biden is urging Congress to raise the debt ceiling before the deadline. He's calling out Republicans for, quote, refusing to do their job.
So let's be clear. Not only are Republicans refusing to do their job, they're threatening to use their power, to prevent us from doing our job, saving the economy from a catastrophic event. I think, quite frankly, it's hypocritical, dangerous, and disgraceful.
CBS News' Natalie Brand has more from Capitol Hill.
President Biden says Congress needs to act now to raise the debt ceiling before the October 18th deadline, when the country will run out of money to pay its bills. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he wants a bill on the president's desk by the end of the week. Republicans say they will not vote for it as long as Democrats are pushing for passage of a proposed $3.5 trillion spending bill.
If this stuff passes, this massive spending and tax bill, that inflation is going to get much worse.
The Democratic social spending bill, as well as the $1.2 trillion bipartisan physical infrastructure bill, have put progressive Democrats and moderates at odds. Democratic leaders are pushing back their own deadline to pass both bills until the end of the month as they try to win over moderates Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona and West Virginia's Joe Manchin. Both say the spending bill costs too much money. Manchin has said he will not go over $1.5 trillion.
That's too small to get our priorities in. So it's going to be somewhere, between 1.5 and 3.5.
New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says they may be able to find ways to scale back.
Fully fund what we can fully fund, but maybe instead of doing it for 10 years, you fully fund it for 5 years.
Build back better. Meanwhile, activists are aggressively protesting Senators Manchin and Sinema.
We need a Build Back Better plan right now.
Even following the Arizona Democrat into a restroom over the weekend. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
For more on this, I want to bring in CBS congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Hi, Nikole. So President Biden says not raising the debt ceiling is, quote, playing Russian roulette. But are comments like these enough to spur Republicans off the sidelines, or is it more meant as sort of a public shaming, if you will?
Well, I doubt this will move Republicans very much from their position. Leader McConnell sent a pretty strongly worded letter to the president right before he delivered his remarks, in essence saying that Republicans aren't going to budge as far as trying to lift the debt limit or suspend it. And basically his argument to the president is that, look, we've been saying this for almost 2.5, 3 months now. We've told you guys need to go it alone, since you're going it alone on other pieces of legislation like the reconciliation package, that big social spending package that represents President Biden's agenda. And more succinctly, the leader also points to some past votes that the president took when he was a senator, where he voted against debt limit increases himself. Now, the president countered by saying, in that instance, you didn't have Democrats trying to filibuster or block a debt limit increase, as Republicans are trying to do now. But at this point, unclear that Republicans will move from their position.
And Nikole, progressive and moderate Democrats are still in disagreement over President Biden's spending plans. Over the weekend, Representative Jayapal said, we know the deal is going to be between $1.5 trillion and $3.5 trillion, but that's still quite a large gap. Where do we think this is going to fall once the dust clears?
Well, again, that's also unclear. At this point, what we do know is that progressives, at a minimum, have acknowledged that they probably will have to come down on the price tag. And you even heard the president today suggest that, even though he wouldn't put out a number. But, that was his message to House Democrats when he was here on the Hill late last week, saying, look, you're going to have to compromise. This $3.5 trillion package may not be happening. You may have to kind of come down a little. And so, we have since heard progressives come out saying, well, maybe it could be between 1.5 and 3.5, or, maybe it's a matter of, cutting back how long a particular program runs. Instead of having it run 10 years, maybe we have it run 5 years, but allow it to be fully funded, which is something you heard Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez mention. You know, at the end of the day, you also still have moderates like Senators Manchin and Senator Sinema who, you know, are really holding the line here. I mean, we know Senator Manchin has been quite clear and reiterated last week he really doesn't want to go above 1.5 trillion. We don't even know what Senator Sinema's number is, and that really is something that remains to be seen, because it would be vital for them to come up on any kind of price tag in order to meet progressives halfway. We know progressives aren't going to come all the way down to Senator Manchin's number. So again, there's a lot of give and take that's going to have to happen between now and the end of the month, which is now this new deadline that Democrats have set to try to get not only a deal on this larger social spending package, but also to pass that the infrastructure bill that is already done and kind of hangs in limbo until all of this gets worked out.
Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill, thank you so much.